he's issued what sounds like an ominous warning. Our Brian Todd is here now. Brian, where does this look to be headed?
Well, Jim, it could be headed to the president firing Robert Mueller, firing his boss, Rod Rosenstein, then getting into an even bigger political and legal mess. Mueller's investigation has clearly irritated the president and placed enormous pressure on him. And those who know Robert Mueller say, don't expect him to back down in the face of the president's threats.
Because people are angry. People are angry.
He's taunted Robert Mueller from the get-go, calling Mueller's investigation illegal, rigged, a witch hunt. Now, President Trump is making a not-so-veiled threat to take action against Mueller.
What's happening is a disgrace. And at some point, I wanted to stay out, but at some point, if it doesn't straighten out properly, I want them to do their job. I will get involved, and I'll get in there if I have to.
How could the president get involved at this stage?
We certainly know that he has at various times threatened to fire Jeff Sessions, threatened to fire Mueller, threatened to fire Rod Rosenstein. Any one of those would be a pretty clear attempt to stymie and stonewall this investigation.
Is Robert Mueller intimidated by the prospect of being fired by the president?
I would be very surprised if Bob Mueller were intimidated by anyone. But in terms of just wanting to do the job, do the right thing, I think he's exactly the right person to have in the position where he is.
Please raise your right hand.
Those who know Robert Mueller say, for the man who led the FBI through 9/11 and the war on terror, who earned medals for bravery as a Marine in Vietnam, none of these threats from Trump are even registering.
This unprecedented historic investigation is probably only the third hardest job that Bob Mueller has ever done.
A job that Mueller has taken on with characteristic meticulousness, perseverance, and public silence.
We know almost nothing about what he has. We've only heard that he has a handful of cooperators. We don't know what evidence he has subpoenaed from banks. We don't know whether he has the president's tax returns. We don't know who's cooperating, who hasn't gone public with his cooperation.
What could Mueller's next big move be in this investigation?
I wanted to give you an opportunity.
Analysts say look toward Trump's shadowy former campaign advisor, who may or may not have had advanced knowledge of WikiLeaks' release of hacked Democratic emails in 2016.
The next thing we know that Bob Mueller is doing is zeroing in more on Roger Stone. You know, he has subpoenas out for more testimony regarding Roger Stone's relationship to the Trump campaign and his actions during the Trump campaign.
Stone denies any wrongdoing. Tonight, while President Trump shows signs of stress over this investigation, experts say Robert Mueller is likely feeling pressures of his own.
Prosecutors among themselves have a cliche, and that is if you're going to aim at the king, you better hit him.
But experts say Mueller's potential damage to the president at this point could go beyond a report potentially saying that the president's campaign colluded with Russia or the president obstructed justice. They say that the move that Mueller could make, which would really shake Donald Trump, a potential indictment of a member of Trump's family, like Donald Trump Jr. or Jared Kushner, for their involvement in that Trump Tower meeting in 2016 with Russians, and looking at whether they've been truthful with investigators about that, Jim.
Brian, Mueller, so committed to being a prosecutor to public service, he often hasn't lasted long in the private sector in his career.
That's right, Jim. He is very dogged about public service. In his entire career, he's taken maybe 2 breaks from public service to take high-paying jobs as a private lawyer, but each of those breaks has lasted no more than a couple of years. One biographer